Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Diamond Crystal, also known as the Gallivanting Grandma. How's everybody doing today? I am currently in California enjoying a nice, beautiful Zen like setting on a house sit for the next 30 days. But I had a fantastic interview while I was in Barbados. All right, so before I introduce my guest, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in. If you are a subscriber already, thank you. If not, then do what it says, okay? And like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate you supporting my channel. I appreciate all the words of affirmation that I get from each one of you in the comment section. So make sure that you drop a comment for me, okay? Appreciate it. All right, for those who may be new to my channel, I am a global nomad. I am a 5-star international house sitter. I am the Gallivanting Grandma trademarked, an intentional connector in these international streets. That's how I meet so many of my incredible guests, one of whom I'm going to bring to you in just a minute. And I am also a travel ambassador for women over 55 who are looking to embrace a new journey in their lives with grace and ease. So I hope that you will get some value out of this conversation. I know it blessed my whole soul. So now that you know a little bit about me, you're not here to hear from me. You are here to listen to my amazing guest, Miss Terri Carroll. So without any further ado, let me say hello to my sister girl and introduce her to you, Terri Carroll.
Hey, how you doing, Diamond?
Hey, Terry. Oh my goodness. This has been a long time coming. We've been talking about trying to do this interview for a little bit.
We have.
Yes, yes, I am so glad to have you. I tell my subscribers, my viewers all the time that I really do meet the most fascinating, incredible sisters during this international journey of mine. Being a global nomad, my tribe has just increased exponentially, quality and quantity. And I'm so glad to have you on the channel today. Thanks for joining.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, they know who I am, but they don't know who you are. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Terri Carroll, and I live abroad, currently in Panama City, Panama. This is my second country of residency. My first was I was in Manta, Ecuador. And so I moved abroad in 2021, and
Uh huh.
this is about 3.5 years for me outside of the United States. And I'm still loving the journey, but the journey evolves
It
along the
evolved.
course,
And
so
yes.
but I'm still loving it.
All right. That's the main thing. You got that smile on your face, that expat smile on your face. So I know you loving it. All right. Let's
Yes.
back up just a little bit because I love receipts. So I give receipts. All right. So Terry and I did meet, as she mentioned, in Manta, Ecuador. And that
Yes.
was my first stop on my wellness journey. And I thought I was only going to be there for 60 days. It wound up being a whole almost 90 days. But in that time, I met some great sisters like Terry. So you mentioned that you started your expat journey in Ecuador. All
Yes.
right. Why Ecuador?
Well, when I decided that I wanted to move outside of the United States, it originally was Panama in the first place.
Okay. That's funny.
And yeah, I know, right? And during that time, I moved out of the United States during the pandemic, like in the midst of the pandemic. In 2020,
Mm-hmm.
I was preparing to leave. So during that time, Panama's borders were closed. They were very strict about opening them.
Ah,
And so I had to decide which country I was going to because you got to do the paperwork and everything. And
right.
so I had to start looking at other places.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked further down. I don't know how I stumbled across Ecuador. I'm sure it was from some YouTuber.
Yes.
But I looked, I said, wow, that's farther south than I wanted to go because that's like South America,
Yeah, for real, for real.
Central America, a little bit farther. But the cultures were similar, the cost of living was similar at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the weather, what I was looking for, affordable health care, and
Yeah.
just like a piece of living, even like,
Peace.
how they, the culture of guns, like
Uh-huh.
just how they were handling pandemic. It was all those things I was looking for at that moment. And
Yeah.
so Ecuador checked the boxes. And I just, I started studying in particular a set of YouTubers named Amelia and JP.
Uh-huh.
And they were very receptive when I reached out to them. They were telling me a lot of things. And I actually was binge watching their videos because I was going through so much in the States wanting to get out. And
Yeah.
it was like a ray of light to watch them. And
Yeah.
then I began to see how you can expand from that and join the Facebook groups and actually talk to more people on the ground in these countries and see what it's really like to be living there. And then I
Yeah.
connected with some folks in Manta, and from that was it. I left. I got on the plane. At the time, the airfare was low because wasn't nobody poly flying
How
because of the
about that?
pandemic.
How about that? All the things, you know?
All the things, and Jewel Wren was instrumental in helping me find my apartment. She was
Yes.
nice enough to go into video some apartments for me, so I can send them to me so I could look at them. So
Yep.
it was a very soft landing. Thanks
Girl.
to the people on the ground there, Stella, Coulter,
Yeah.
and
You,
some
you
more
dropping
people.
all the names. That's these people all tribe when it comes to Manta,
Yes,
Ecuador, right?
they
I
helped me.
mean,
They helped me.
seriously.
Mhm.
You said something, you said two things that resonates really, really strongly with me. You said peace.
Yes,
Peace.
yes,
Peace. It's
yes.
invaluable. And
It
that was what
sure
you
is.
were seeking at that time in your life, right? And Manta
Yes,
offered that to you. And I say the
yes,
same thing for me. I was looking for wellness and I was looking for peace. And
yes,
Ecuador did it for me as well. So we'll always have a special place in my heart, for real, for real.
yes. Mine
And
too.
then yours too. And
Hmm.
then you talked about the soft landing. I mean, you did it at the beginning of the pandemic. I came almost towards the end of the pandemic. But the same thing, reaching out to online community that made you feel like I really can do this. There are
Yes,
people who are willing to talk to me to
yes.
help me have a soft landing. Jewel also was instrumental in finding my place for me and so many others.
Hmm.
So to have those local ambassadors that
Yes,
you already got enough anxiety about going to a whole nother country and all the things, right?
yes, yes,
If you can just soften that landing just a little bit with online
yes.
community, it makes all the difference in the world. Don't you agree?
It really does. I mean, it made it feel doable and it
Yeah.
felt safe in that place. And I didn't feel safe in the United States anymore at that particular time because that was the summer of George Floyd. We had COVID. We had, Donald Trump in office and all the stuff that
Ugh,
goes with that.
ugh.
It was
You ain't
just
supposed to say that name on my channel, but go ahead. Go ahead.
it was just so much upheaval. I was also having some I had started having some health issues,
Hmm.
and it was just I was in graduate school. That was a lot of strain. It was just a lot. I felt very, very overwhelmed, and I was seeking a wusa. I needed to release.
Yes. Yes.
I needed some peace, and it just everybody in Ecuador, they just seemed like they was just chilling, and even with the
They chill
pandemic,
hard down
they
in
was
Manta.
chilling
That's
so
all I got to say.
hard. And
They
even
chill
with the
hard.
pandemic, everybody was like, I didn't even mind the fact that they were talking about the lockdowns because at that time, people was having a shelter in place.
Yes.
Women was going out certain opposite days from the men. I mean,
Wow.
they was really strict about you had to be in the. They had curfew. That all
Yes.
sounded great to me because I felt like the people in the United States
Right.
was going wacko. You know what I'm saying?
Because at that time, the US was like, this ain't even real.
It ain't
Don't
even
believe the
real.
numbers, all
Yeah.
the things. And like I said, I came in on the tail end of it, but my trip was delayed. I was supposed to bring in the new year, 2022, in Ecuador, right?
Yes.
I got COVID over Christmas. I was distraught,
I
sis.
remember that girl.
I was
Wow.
crying like, oh my God, how could this happen to me? I was supposed to be on a plane. I mean, it was like 17 days because you
Wow.
had to be clear of it and tested,
Yep.
negative for a certain amount of time before you get on the plane. All the things, girl. When I finally got there, I was like, Jesus, I need this.
Yeah,
It was a
it was
refuge for
a
me.
phase. It was a, I mean, I personally don't have any problem with order, especially
Right.
in the midst of chaos.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the way they were handling that because it
Mm.
was my piece. And the apartment that Jewel had found for me was ocean front and it had this beautiful terrace. And I was like,
Yes.
I can just, go to the store when they say we can go to the store, get what I need, and sit out here and look at the ocean. And I'm great. I mean, I'm gravy. I don't need nothing else. And I
I
couldn't wait to
heard
get
that.
to it. Turn my jazz on in the background, girl. I was straight.
I know that's right. I know that. And when I got there, because it had already started easing up, it was exactly what the doctor ordered for me because deliveries had resumed.
Yes.
So I did, Jewel was kind enough to take me to the supermarket like the first day. But after that, I was like, I don't even want to go outside. I didn't come to be outside. I came to be inside,
Right.
right? And
Right.
find my inner peace and start my healing. So having fresh fish deliveries and flour
Yes.
deliveries and
Yes.
wine and whatever else I
Yes.
needed was like right on time. So
Beautiful.
sound like it was perfect timing for you, and it was
Yeah,
definitely perfect timing for me.
it
Absolutely.
was. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. All
I
right,
missed
you
that
said,
fresh fish from Stella.
oh man, and I'm talking about fresh, right?
Delicious. Yes.
And delicious. Yes, that was one of the things. You can eat well, and I mean
Yes.
that in every sense of the word well.
Yes. Yes.
Holistically well,
Yes. Yes.
financially, the
Yes.
quality,
Yes.
everything was just like I said, it was what the doctor ordered for me at that point in my life.
Yes, yes. It was idyllic. I mean, I loved my first 3 years. Well, I loved my whole time in Ecuador.
Yeah, yeah.
But then things started to change because I'm
Uh,
kind of a person that looks at I'm big on paying attention to my surroundings. I was in
yeah,
the
yeah,
military. That's one thing that I'm never gonna shake is paying attention to what's going on around you.
yeah,
And I just, watching the news and the developments of what was going on with the increase in violence in the
yeah, yeah.
country and the shift of power.
Yes.
I just began to feel that sense of peace began to shift. And I
Mm,
started to ask myself, okay, so what's the point in being somewhere where you
yes,
came for a certain reason that no longer exists?
that
And,
part.
and I actually caught some blowback. Really, I
Oh, I
was
know you did. I
trying
know
to
you did.
keeping it to myself as long as I could.
Uh
But
huh.
when you get ready to make a country move, obviously you're gonna have to do some things and talk to some people. So it's gonna get out.
Yeah.
I kept to myself as long as I could, and I got the blowback. Oh, why are you leaving? And what about your visa? And all of these kinds of questions that didn't have anything to do with my inner peace and what was best for Terry. It was
Say
like
that
my
again. Say it
move was
loud,
making
girl.
people uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. The
That
only
part.
real people around me that were saying the people that I consider who was real around me was saying, "Hey, gonna miss you, but you need
Yes.
to do what's best for you."
Yes.
Let's stay in touch. I'll
That's
visit you in
right.
Panama City. That was the realness that
Yeah.
and I just clung to that because I caught a little blowback, but it's okay because I ain't no punk. I ain't scared of nobody. No
I
way.
know that's right, girl. You better say that
I take
again.
care of me
Yep.
all day.
That's
But
it.
but
That's
I
it.
had to. I made decisions based on current events and and then I had set like a place, a bar where
Yes.
once it got past that, then that was my personal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was your non-negotiable. That
That
was
was my
your
non-negotiable.
line in the sand, so to
Yeah,
speak.
that was it.
Yeah, yeah,
We hit
yeah.
my straw for the camel's back,
There
and
you
there was
go.
no more conversation.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. You said a couple of things that I just want to back up to. You said you were there for 3 years.
three and a
So
half.
when you were 3.5, so
Mm,
when you arrived in Ecuador, you had long term in mind. You were not on a 90-day tourist visa trying to see whether or not this was going to be it. You were there to stay.
Yes, for the long haul. I actually started my visa process in the United States before
Uh-huh.
I left. I got all of my stuff. I had was in touch with. I had got a lawyer. I had already paid his fee. He told
Yeah.
me what to do. I hand carried all of my stuff with me to Ecuador, and everything that I couldn't get because I wasn't going to wait for some of the documents were delayed because of the COVID stuff
Sure,
was
sure.
slow. And I had my mother, DHL, the rest of it, and I was gone.
Okay. So
And I
you were
was
serious
so
business.
it was long term. It was
Yeah.
Ecuador was going to be my long term home until I got to the age of getting my Social Security, and then
Uh-huh.
I was going to be traveling more. But and that was going to be my base of operations for sure. That was
Okay.
the, yeah.
Okay, got you, got you. And you said you had no problem with order, especially in the face of chaos. And I kind of feel like that might be because of your military background. So
Oh,
you are a U.S. veteran, correct?
yes, I am a United
Okay.
States Army. Yes,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. How much time did you serve?
I served 2 years.
Okay. All right. And that was
Mhm.
enough, right?
It sure was. I had not planned on making that a career, but it
Ah,
was a great experience.
yeah, yeah. And so, I feel like maybe the experience of serving in the military, well, you tell me, did that change your perspective on living outside the United States?
Well, it when I served in the military and I did get stationed in Germany, so that
Mm-hmm.
put a wanderlust in me, and I always wanted to
Yeah,
travel.
yeah.
But then when my husband and I got out of the military, we took some different turns and wind up not being able to travel like we originally had planned, and
Uh-huh.
raising the kids abroad. That was something that we wanted had planned on doing.
Yeah.
So but living abroad as a civilian is very different than being in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wanted to travel abroad as a civilian,
Yeah.
and I did a little bit of it as a professional singer, but not as much as I wanted outside of the United States. So yes, but the military it prepared me because it make you want to, it just makes you want to see the world. Once you get a
Yes.
taste of traveling, once that wanderlust bug bites you, like you
Oh
can't,
my goodness.
you can't
Listen,
go back.
I'm so bitten. I don't even look for the calamine lotion for the bites
I
anymore.
know.
I
It
just
says that's
embrace
it.
the bites like where we going, girl? Where
It's
we
scratch.
going?
I know, right? That's right.
All right. I put up a timeout because you said as a professional singer. And
Yeah.
that's something that I happen to know about you, but many people do not. So go on and enlighten us on what that journey looked like for you because you are an award winning singer.
Yeah. Well, I've been singing my whole life. And I started professionally at 17 doing
Uh-huh.
professional work, getting paid, doing radio commercial jingles in Chicagoland area.
Okay.
Um, when
What's one of the jingles that somebody from Chi-Town would recognize?
I did one for Durham Curl. With Durham Curl, you can do it with ease. That
Girl,
and
yeah.
I did one for Loop Roller Disco. If you from
Okay.
Shy, you know where Loop Roller Disco is, a roller
All right. Where
skating.
my Chi-Town girls at?
Did one for them. But yeah, so when I was in my early 30s, I got a record deal with
Uh-huh.
a gospel label, CGI Records, and
Okay.
my project on that label, I got nominated for 2 Stellar Awards,
Oh,
and I spent
fabulous.
time. I had 2 songs in the top 100 gospel Billboard charts for a number of weeks. I was
We gonna
signed.
have to put up a link. You got it on YouTube, or where can we find it? Spotify, something
Yeah,
like that.
it's everywhere where you get your digital downloads, and you
All
can
right,
just
we're gonna
say
put that
Alexa.
link in the description so people can listen to this
Yeah.
songbird that I got on my show right now.
And you can just tell Alexa, play Terri Carroll music. Alexa will play it for you. But she might say you got to get a subscription or something.
Yeah, yeah,
but you
yeah.
can, but you can find stuff on YouTube. There's videos on YouTube or videos on YouTube. And so yeah, so I been singing my whole life, And then back in the early 2000s, I decided to go back to school.
Uh-huh.
So I've taken a break off of my
Yeah.
music for many years.
Uh-huh.
I haven't recorded. The last song I recorded was in 2020 during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
And that's out as well. It's urban gospel, but
Uh-huh.
I love jazz. I love to
Yeah.
sing jazz
I know you
myself.
do, girl. I've been to your apartment in Ecuador, and we was just like
Yes,
chilling. Some good
yes,
wine, some great jazz in the
yes, right,
background, beautiful
exactly.
atmosphere.
That
Yes.
was a beautiful apartment, wasn't
Oh,
it? That was
listen,
gorgeous.
gorgeous. Absolutely
It
gorgeous. Yeah.
was.
Yeah. And
But
that's
yeah,
one thing.
so I have been kind of on a chill with the singing, and then I had some vocal damage. So
Uh-huh.
I'm actually in, it's called vocal paralysis when your vocal cords are not closing properly. So I'm actually in vocal therapy, still with a therapist in Ecuador who's amazing. We now just do our
Yeah.
therapy online. And I'm probably
Nice.
going to be in therapy for the rest of this year, but my voice is strengthening. And so, what's exciting about living in Panama City, and is very different than Ecuador, was my opportunities to be able to sing
Yes.
here are
Yes.
much greater. And
Yes.
so, I'm getting ready. I'm doing what they call in jazz, I'm shedding. And that means you honing your craft.
Uh-huh.
So when you come back out, you can bam, bam, hit it out the park. So that's where
Oh
I'm at
my
right now. Like I
gosh.
said, and I'm strengthening my voice, strengthening my heart, my soul, my spirit, my everything, just
All of
strengthening,
that.
do my
Yep.
thing. That's where I'm
That
at.
that's awesome. That is awesome. You know, I knew you were a singer, and then my second visit to Ecuador, and that was your birthday celebration that we all went
Yes.
to that brand new restaurant up on the hill overlooking the water. It
Yes.
was all the
Yes.
things that I love,
Yes. That
including
was,
grilled octopus, which was fabulous.
you love your
I
octopus.
do. I really do. But you know, and that was when I discovered. I said, "What, you a singer? Wait, hold up, how I ain't know that?" Like I had known you from my first 90 days there, and that didn't come out at any point in time. I knew you were a jazz lover, but then you said, "Yeah, I'm doing a little something." And I think your performance was either right before or right after I was leaving. It did not work out that I could
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
attend.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great performance we did at the university in Ecuador. It was
Yeah.
jazz night, and they asked me
Okay.
to do a song, and it wasn't a jazz song that I did. It was actually a Sade song, but
Right.
the audience reaction was totally incredible. I just came up to do the little song, and I was gonna sit back down, and
Uh huh.
then people just start just coming out of nowhere, and they didn't. I mean, they speak Spanish. They didn't understand what I was singing, but
Yeah,
it was,
but you can understand good music. You don't have to
yeah,
understand the words.
yeah, they really loved it, and I had hopes that I would be able to sing more, especially based on that reaction. But it just didn't work out there for me to be able to sing a lot. You know,
Yeah.
it was kind of like a closed music community,
Okay.
so
Okay.
it has to be. You know, people have to not be threatened by new people coming in to do
Yeah.
something, and that
Yeah.
kind of what happens in smaller communities. That's why it's different in Panama City because it's a
Oh
big city
yes.
and there's enough room for everybody to do what they want to do
Yes.
without anybody feeling threatened and to know that there's always going to be somebody coming behind you. I mean, that's a waste of time to be trying to keep staying the best person in the room. You can only be the best you. If I'm the
Ooh.
best me, I do not have to be threatened by what nobody else does. And so that's
Mm-mm.
what I try to concentrate on. Because to me, the
Listen,
rest of it
I'm
is
my
cool.
only competition. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
my own
It's just
competition.
me and myself.
That's right. Other people might be in competition with me, but I ain't in competition with nobody.
Nobody.
That's it.
Okay,
So
that's a whole word right there. That's a
that
whole
is
word.
it's the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You know,
I was
that's
cool
why
with
I
that.
was kind of excited when you told me that you were moving to Panama. And you
Mhm.
know, you didn't announce it real big and everything, but
I
because we
did.
had a certain sister rapport, you did open up and share that you were moving. And immediately I was like, girl, your music is going to pop off because I
Yes.
spent time in Panama City and I know the diversity. I know the extent of the arts that are available there. And
Yes.
I knew
Yes.
that there was going to be a special place just for you. I'm so glad that you're following your passion again. That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Thank you. I'm excited about it. And it's a little scary because like the vocal damage that I was telling you about. not only do I have to do the physical vocal therapy,
Yeah.
but part of it, according to the doctor and my therapist, is that I got to get back out and sing again, because the confidence can only be rebuilt by getting in front of an audience. And because
Yes.
I've had so much throat problem and I didn't always know what's going to happen when I open my mouth.
Right. Right.
So it's a journey, and I'm doing it a little bit at a time. But they have this little open mic here, which is a good place for me to
Cool.
start. Yeah, so I'm gonna hit in there and see what I can do. It's mostly for instrumentalists, but a few vocalists come through sometime. But
Yeah.
it's a real intimate little spot, and
Nice.
it's young people hitting jazz, which I love to see jazz continuing like that.
Yes. Yes.
Our
Yes.
young people carrying the torch for that. So I think that's going to be a great jumping off spot,
Yeah.
to stick my toe back in the water.
All right, girl. I am thrilled for you. Absolutely
Thank
thrilled. You're
you.
gonna have to keep us posted on what's coming up with the
I will.
Terri Carroll singing. Absolutely.
I will.
You and I were laughing a little bit before we got on camera, and I said, I think you got some innate Spidey sense or something like that when something is about to go down. And like I said, we don't really talk politics on my channel, but I think it's important for us to just back up and talk about, your timing was almost impeccable landing in Ecuador. And you said you ain't even really know the extent of what was going on in the US, but you saw it coming. And
Yeah.
then when we talked about your pending move to Panama, and we got real up close and personal with your reasons then and what you were able to see as far as that political landscape changing. I just wanted to go back and touch on that because you said you got to be aware. And that doesn't mean propaganda, news aware. You gotta use your intuition. Speak
Yes.
on that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, starting with the US, like I said, all of the events that was happening politically, socially. I was living in a place in Atlanta, where all of the protests, the George Floyd summer, all the protests was coming down my street. So I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing tanks following people, and
Ooh,
Black Lives Matter. And I have a bird's eye view of it. I'm looking at how the COVID was handled, and
yes,
just people's attitude and politicizing the virus, and
yeah,
just all of the divisiveness. To
hmm,
me, it was just a storm brewing. It's just, you can see each ingredient, and you can choose not to pay attention to what you're looking at
that
because you
part,
don't want to face it, or
yep,
you can say this thing ain't looking too good. And
hmm,
I actually started comparing what's going on in the United States, especially with the name that you don't like being said on your channel.
yes, yeah,
I started really comparing it to what was going on in Germany in the 30s, before the Nazi party started coming up. And I see a lot of similarities, and I just saw a lot of
they're
lethargy
undeniable.
on the part of the people. And then with the election, when I saw, even when that person lost
Yes,
the
yes,
election, when I saw the number of people who voted for him anyway,
hmm,
even though he
hmm,
lost, I
hmm.
was like, that climate, that's not something, I'm not feeling where this is going.
No, no,
I
no.
mean, it's just really,
I mean, how many more red flags did you need?
it's just facing the facts.
Yeah,
People don't, but moving is uncomfortable. You don't want to leave your family, blah, blah, blah. But I just felt, for my mental health, a move was just tantamount. And
yeah,
so that's what happened with the US. And then really the same thing with Ecuador. Just looking at the shift of power,
hmm,
the problems that the government was having, keeping control of the situation,
yes,
the violence and the way in which things were happening. People were losing their lives, and just the sadness of watching the Ecuadorian people, who are a dear, sweet, hard
yes, they
working people,
are.
some of the
Yes, they are.
nicest people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing in my entire existence.
Yes,
And
yes,
watching them just like horrified, like, what is happening in our country?
yes.
And that's who I was interacting with, because I
There
have a
you
lot
go.
of Ecuadorian friends. So I was outside of the expat bubble, and the whole, like, painting this rose colored glasses picture. I'm looking at the people who are out here every day, and the mothers who are burying their sons because they don't want to be in the gangs, and all of these things that was happening to these people, being pulled into into criminal activity and that they didn't want to, or being exposed to extortion and being really run out of their country for fear.
Yes.
Mom and pop's businesses going out of business, people just being afraid, and the realness of that and
Yes.
being around them is what
Yes.
helped me make my decision, not what everybody else was saying because they bought property or because they just don't feel like moving or whatever their issues were. And those were the type of people that was telling me that I was panicking and I was jumping to what they tell me. One person told me I was being something they said, but just jumping to conclusions and
Yeah.
moving without it being warranted.
Yeah.
It was warranted. Whether or
Yeah.
not other people want to decide it's warranted, because we all have our base of what's cool with us and what we
Sure.
think is good
Sure.
with something else. And I was at mine, and I feel like I didn't appreciate people putting themselves on me because I'm a grown woman and I
Because
know what's
people will
enough for
try
me.
and project on you.
They will try to
Yes.
project on you, and also it makes them uncomfortable because now you're making them think
That's
that
right.
if they want to act like it's not real, but you moving makes them think about things they're not comfortable thinking about.
All
So
right, all right. And I appreciate your transparency with that because I had to make hard decisions back in February. Wendy and I were planning to be in Ecuador as we have been for the last two
yep,
years, every
yes,
February, right? I
yes,
mean, it's
yep,
when it's Carnival.
yes,
There's the big parties are going on. Your birthday was there,
yep,
other people's birthday celebrations. We were like ready to party like we do
yes,
every February. And we had to
yes,
make a really hard decision. And I'm glad that you said that your information was gathered outside the expat bubble
yes,
because that is the comfort zone, right?
yes, it
If
is.
you've committed to a place and you've got a lease or you've got a mortgage or you've built a home, you kind of can seclude yourself from
Yes,
what the reality is.
yes,
And your example of seeing it firsthand, first of all, having community outside of the expat community, I
yes,
think
very
is very
important.
important. It's vitally
It's
important.
vital.
If you say that you are going to be a citizen, if you are going to be a long term resident of a country, I think you do yourself a disservice by only being in that expat
That's
enclave.
true. That's right.
And your intel was completely different from what we were getting outside of our intimate circle of, we
Yes,
coming to hang out and have a good time because they still wanted us to come and hang out and
of
have a good
course.
time. But
Yeah,
I'm
of
like,
course.
yo, so the first person did I not hit you up? I was like, sis,
You
what's
hit me
going on?
up.
I
You
hit
hit
you
me
up
up.
because your Spidey senses be on point. I was like, yo, girl, what's going on? Like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
and I
And
was
when you broke
honest.
it down to me, and we were seeing the news reports, the whole
Hmm.
the news station, the TV station is taking over at gunpoint. I'm like, yo, like I ain't trying to go somewhere where I might not be able to get out because you don't know what's going
Right.
to escalate. And
Yeah, that was the
I'm coming to
thing.
have a good time, and I don't want to be looking over my shoulder. And so that's
Right.
why I went to Colombia. We went to Colombia for the month of February, and
Yeah.
that was life. That was life. But we're not going to talk about that. So I really appreciate your transparency in saying, your information was it was well rounded, right?
Yes.
It didn't just come
Yes.
from one circle or the other circle. And it's interesting because when we said we're not coming and we asked for, because we already paid for our apartment, oceanfront view, the whole nine, like you said. And,
Hmm.
we talked to the realtor, not the representative of the realtor. We talked to the realtor who's
Hmm.
Ecuadorian.
Hmm.
And so my question was, if you were me, would you come for the month of February with what's going on? And she said, no, I would not. I need
Yes.
to hear no more.
No
I heard it
more.
from my sister Carol, Terri Carroll, and I heard it from an Ecuadorian businesswoman. And she
That's
said,
right.
no, I would not. My
Yeah.
decision at that point was like, yo, so where else we going?
Right.
Because it
Because
ain't about to be Ecuador.
The Ecuadorians will be honest. And I mean, even professional people, like you said,
Yeah.
Ecuadorians told me, between me and you, you're doing the
Yes.
right thing for
Yes.
leaving. I had people, I had blowback about what you gonna do about your visa. I had a professional person tell me, listen, that's the cost of living in Ecuador the time you was here. If you ever want to come back, just get another visa. You
Just
know
get
what I'm
another
saying? But
visa.
it's not worth my peace to save a visa for a country that I feel like has a lot of work to do before I could ever honestly consider living there again long term.
Yeah, yeah,
Even coming back and forth again every 2 years to maintain a visa is something that's airfare, that's hotel.
absolutely.
I mean, and things have changed. When reasons change for why we've done something, we
Yes.
don't have to try to force it. It's done. That was the season. The season has passed, and I am in
There
a
you
new
go.
season, and I'm okay with that. I can't help if other people don't understand that or
Yeah,
are stuck somewhere that they don't want to be for whatever reason. That's not my issue. I
yeah,
don't own that for them.
right, right.
So that's one of the reasons that I didn't want to talk a lot about it to people in my process of moving.
Yes, yes, I
But once
understand.
I did, one thing about it, living abroad and living as a single sister, like you said, out here, you have to be strong in your yeses and your nos, and you have to believe in yourself and stand by what you believe because you're gonna get blowback for just being a woman out here doing this by yourself. It don't have to be no other reason.
That's
Just
right.
how dare you be out here living your best life? Who you think you is? You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? So we just gotta be strong, and you know when stuff is gonna come at you. You have to be strong in your decisions. You gotta
that's
believe
right.
it. You gotta
That,
believe it so you can defend it if you need to.
that's right. And I don't defend it because
Mhm.
it's mine. I own it.
Right.
So what
That's
I decide is mine. I
that's
own that
right.
decision and
That's right.
nobody else has to understand it.
Not
And that
required.
is the empowerment that comes from being a solo black female traveler.
Yes.
You make these decisions based on your intuition. And I say, at one point in my life, through all the bull crap that we deal with as women, just as humans on this journey, I had lost touch with even being able to hear her, my inner voice.
Yes.
I
Me
didn't
too.
even recognize her anymore.
I know
And
me.
so, when I started getting back in touch with intuition, and she was leading me in directions that I always wanted to go, and I started trusting her again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so look at my journey now. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? From where
Yes.
I started to where I am now, my intuition, my ride or die. I listen
Right.
to her.
That's your best rider because when I see what you post and the things that you say, and you sometimes, put the woman up there, she always a fly looking lady, and she's even the cartoon lady is confident, walking in her truth and being and living her life, man, and not being affected by what other people might
Yes.
think or have them put their limitations on her. And it's
Yep.
just like you said, listening to our inner self. I
Yes.
had to really go back to who were you even, when you was 14 and developing into being a woman.
Ooh.
You need to go back to her. You need to talk to her
Ooh.
because all this stuff that has happened to you has affected you and tried to just put you and
Shrink
make you
you.
like
That's
this
right.
and try to strip you of everything that's inside of you. And we have to start all over again. And that could be friends, that could be family doing that. That could be people with their best intentions. But when
Yes.
people pull from us and pull from us so much, there's nothing left for us. And it's
No.
like you have to start over and rebuilding. And so what you post is so inspiring, so
Thank
inspirational.
you.
It's just teaching. It fills me up. And
Yeah.
I and
Oh,
I
thank you.
it blesses. It's so thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that because, I say to people, if I post it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I post is what I need, it's what I believe. And so I have learned to stand strong in my transparency and my authenticity because, like I said, I own my life, every facet of my life. My
Yes.
past, I own it. The journey is never complete, but the journey that I have taken thus far, I've reconciled with my younger self. I've
Yes.
reconciled with the little girl who was afraid of abandonment and all those issues. And that's the work that has
Yes.
to be done in order for you to stand strong in your decisions as a black woman in these international streets.
That's right. That is so right.
No hesitation about it. All right. So we talked about a couple of differences between Ecuador and Panama. What would you say are the biggest differences and benefits, one versus the other?
Well, so one of the big differences, Ecuador gets the better on food, fresh food,
Yeah,
fresh fish. They are the winners on that.
hands
As far
down.
as being in Panama City, my understanding that being in like the interior is much different.
It
But
is.
I haven't been out there yet, so. But I do miss the prices in Ecuador and the ability, because I'm really into herbal medicine. I make my own herbal medicine
Yeah,
during my wellness journey. So to be able to get herbs in Ecuador is very cheap,
yeah,
and very easy. It's very easy to get to know that the food is organic.
yes.
Here, not so much with
It's
the organic.
different.
Not saying that we got junk food, because it's still good food, but
Yeah,
I bet Ecuador it's better. But
I
from
agree.
the United States, it's amazing.
Yes,
Okay, but
yes.
I've been somewhere where it's better.
There you go.
But here I love the fact of everything being close, like, because I do everything holistically. I have some specialty items that I was unable to get in Ecuador without sending for Amazon. Here I can
Oh
just go
yeah.
get most of it is going to be right here,
Yes.
because they got organic stores just like Whole Foods in the States and stuff like that. And then there's still the little tiendas where you can get fresh fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables and stuff. And so the convenience of living in the city, because I'm a
Okay.
city girl, I love the city sounds, the vibe
Yeah.
of the city. And I
Well,
do.
that's a big departure from where you were in Manta, girl.
Yeah, it's a big departure from Manta, from Atlanta to Manta. And I guess I needed the peace of Manta from living in a big city in Atlanta,
Yes, yes.
growing up in Gary, Indiana, right in the shadow of Chicago. So I'm a big city person.
Okay.
But and I needed that rest, I guess, because I feel I really missed the city. I realized that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I would like it if the city and the ocean front were together in Panama City like they are in Manta, because
Yeah.
you don't have to decide. Here you got to decide
Yes.
if you're going to live at the beach or if you're going to live in the city. And if you're going to live at the beach, then you're not going to have the conveniences of the city.
That's right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
for right now, I'm loving the city, and
Cool.
all of the activities is
There's a
class,
lot going on
it's
in
church
Panama City.
stops,
Yes.
it's concerts, it's so much to do. There's so much to do that you have to look at. I had to look at my budget and say, okay, you can't do everything. You know what I'm
I
saying?
heard
But
that.
it's there
Yeah.
if you want
Because
to
you
do.
could be outside all the time.
You could
But
be doing
Panama
something
City
35 minutes.
outside is different than other Latin American countries outside because it is not an inexpensive city to live
It
in.
is not
No.
inexpensive to live in Panama City at all. The comparison in price, I would say I pay about 2.5 times more here for everything than I did in Manta, with the exception of clothes. Clothes at Albrook Mall are very, very
I
inexpensive.
love Albrook.
Everybody
You
love
got
Albrook.
the oversized animals that are very,
Yes,
colorful. I
yes,
love Albrook
yes,
Mall.
yes. We love Albrook. That's where all the deals are. Of course,
Yeah,
they have lots and lots of malls, but that's the one where all the deals are.
yeah,
So yeah, that it costs more to be here, but I think when you live in a city, you know that you pay more for
sure.
living in a city. However, there are some things that I would like to see worked on better. Like there's a big garbage problem here. There was a big
Hmm.
garbage problem in Ecuador too. Um, so stuff like that, some
Hmm.
infrastructure things, but as a whole, I really find it more enjoyable here.
Okay.
It's not so enclosed with just a small amount of choices or a small amount of groups that you can be in. You could get lost here. You could hang out with this group to do that thing and that group to do this thing, and you never feel like you are beholden to or
Yes.
obligated
Yes.
to participate. If you decide not to participate, it's like you're looked at like, well, you ain't coming hanging out with us. That's not like that here. You know what I'm saying? And I
I
love
can't
that.
imagine that affecting you. Knowing the Terry that I know, I can't imagine you being affected by what you mean you ain't coming. You like, yo, I'm at home with my wine and my jazz,
And
and you got a
that's
problem with
it.
it.
That's it. But you don't even have to like experience the
Yeah.
none of it.
Because
So
it's a larger community, first of all.
yeah,
It's a
it's a lot.
larger expat community. It's a large ex-military community because of the
Oh
canal
yes,
there. Um,
yes.
so you have a good amount of diversity.
You do, and I'm a veteran, and this is the veterans group that we have here in Panama is one of the best I've ever seen. It's a big veterans group. It's very helpful, a lot of information. Because we just recently had a big thing here with many of the healthcare providers being suspended by the
Uh-huh.
VA because of fraud.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and so, we've had to switch our care from the original hospitals and stuff. And so the veterans group has really come together to help everybody make that transition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I didn't know that there are several hospitals in Panama City that take the foreign
Yes.
medical program. It was
Yes. That
always
is one
hospital
of the
boosters,
big
hospital boosters.
draws.
Yeah, it's one of the big deals. And there are like 5 hospitals here. It's not just the one that
That's
everybody
right.
thinks.
That's right.
So, and it's a lot of providers. And so, yeah, that is a big draw for veterans because your
Yeah.
service connected disabilities you can get here and don't have to pay for care for those. And so
That's
it
right.
is a big draw as a veteran.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the
I'm
group,
I'm
like I
glad you
said,
spoke on that.
yeah, the group is it's an incredible group. I'm really
Yeah.
happy to be a part of it.
Cool, cool. I will say that although I'm not a veteran, I know that in Portugal, that group, that Black in Portugal group, is run. The administrator is ex-military, so she's a
Hmm.
veteran, and she speaks very highly of the health care and the
Hmm.
cost of care, the affordable quality cost of care that you can get in Portugal. So it's the two P's is Portugal and Panama, as far as I know, that is very veteran friendly for our
Yes.
U.S. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I think Colombia has some clinics,
uh-huh.
but I know that Panama is the most developed one as far as how many actual hospitals and facilities that
Hmm.
they have for
Yeah.
veterans, and it's very varied. Like they have a clinic coming up in Cuenca in Ecuador, but it
Okay.
will be just a small community clinic, so it's
Yeah.
limited to what you can get. When you have full service hospital, that's a
Hmm.
whole other animal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
but we are
particularly, yeah, I was going to say, particularly if you have health concerns.
yes,
When I
yes,
first started my journey, and still now, thank you, Lord, I don't take any medication on a daily basis. I don't have high blood pressure, no health issues. So,
praise God.
while I was traveling, I was like, well, I'm good. If I need to go to the doctor, I'm all right, because it's not anything that needs to be managed on a regular basis. But as we age on this journey, then you need to think about these things a litle bit differently.
Yeah,
And that has to be a major consideration, because healthy today does not necessarily mean healthy tomorrow, right?
that's the truth. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's one of the important factors for me because I did have some health challenges and I wanted to be close to good health care. And
Yeah.
it's one of the factors of not living way out at a beach somewhere, which I would love to do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be far away from quality care because the
Understood.
difference between I've heard stories about people like, well, they maybe could have saved him if he had been close to a hospital that has some equipment instead of a little clinic that didn't have nothing but a blood pressure cuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Right.
I think as we get older, like you said, we definitely have to put that we have to factor that into the
You
equation.
have to
Yeah.
factor it in, and you have to factor in the cost of it, because
Yes.
if you are going to get, a permanent visa, or whatever permanent steps you're going to take in your country of choice, you have to have some kind of health care.
You do. You
So
do.
you have to factor that cost in. I'm sure that the cost has to be less than like Medicare in the United States. I've heard that that's really very expensive. But that's a necessity. If you eliminate that from the equation, you can live a little bit better. You can have less stress and you can have more money. And that's what I'm all about with house sitting. Like, eliminate the big deals.
I know the
Eliminate
big
housing
I
completely.
know. And then we can have our money actually in our pocket.
Then
And
then all my money becomes disposable. Understand what
that's
I'm
right.
saying?
I
It becomes
know.
discretionary at that point, at my discretion, because I ain't got to pay no rent. So yeah,
That's
it's just
right.
working for me.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
but
I
I'm
and
going
I
to encourage you to get out to the beach, girl. You might not want to live there, but Coronado Beach is life.
Yes, girl, I'm going out there. I'm definitely gonna take some time for me to just hang out with 3-4 days and just do nothing but walk on the beach and look at the waves. And because
Yeah, man.
that's a part of Ecuador that I really loved and missed, because I used to walk the beach all the time because I lived right oceanfront in that
Yeah.
first apartment. And it's just, it's life, like you said, just being in contact with the vastness of the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
God's creation. It's a
Mm-hmm.
vibe, man. So I definitely
Mm-hmm.
miss that. But I think that I probably will wind up staying in the city for a little while, and
Okay.
I like that we can visit the beaches when we want to. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a,
yeah. That's
it's a good
the
country.
thing. Yep,
It's
yep.
a good country.
It's a good country, and I want to thank you. Like I said in the beginning, I like receipts, and I like to pay it forward. So you were gracious enough to be an ambassador to welcome my friends when they came through, Regina and her hubby. And
Yes,
I love to see that global community grow and
yes,
stay connected, because like I said, soft landings mean everything. You
yes, they
land in
do.
Panama City and you like, okay, I'm excited to be here, but where, what, how? You might have done your homework, but there's
Yes,
nothing like being in touch with a kindred spirit, somebody who has a
yes,
like mind, who understands why you there and can say, come on, let's go to my favorite restaurant. You ain't got to figure out
yes.
restaurants tonight or something like
That's
that.
right.
So
That's
thank
right.
you.
You're welcome. And they were so cool. I really enjoyed them. And we still talk. And she was
See?
like, girl, when I come back, you got to give me some of that. Because, I be trying to do plant-based cooking. And she looking at
Yeah,
me and
yeah.
like, I'm ready for some of that when I get back. I'm like, girl, I got
I
you.
love it. I just love it. Yes, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes the journey so much more enjoyable. And like I said, it alleviates a big part of that anxiety.
Yes, it
Regina,
does.
she's not necessarily a solo traveler all the time, so
Mhm.
she's got that partner. But when you do go by yourself into a strange land, it's always good to see another sister who's like, yep, I got you.
Yes, and that's what I love about what you do, because I haven't really I want to get into solo traveling. I
Uh-huh.
came to live in other countries, and that's
Right.
different than solo traveling for
Yes.
vacation. And that's what I want to learn how to do next. How to plan my trip, what I want to look at, how to get
Yeah.
my lodging, and just enjoy feeling safe and traveling and feeling very empowered. And I think
Yeah.
that's what you do, why what you do is so important, because that's not something that I've done as a civilian yet.
Yes.
To travel
Yes.
any further, like I went down the coast in Ecuador for 4 5 days
Yeah, yeah,
to a
yeah.
little spot, but I'm talking about going to Portugal or Egypt, or because there's a spot in Egypt I want to go to, Sharm el Sheikh. This sounds just
Okay.
like yeah to me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to plan to just do something like that. Go out. It's like in the middle of the desert in Egypt. It's like super party, chill, vibey spot that few people be going to that I've seen. I
Yeah.
want to be able to just like partake in that and feel
Right.
confident in doing it. So that's
Yeah.
why your work is so important,
Thank
and
you.
so we can connect and feel comfortable doing stuff like that.
You got to. And I will tell you that if I say it once, I say it 1,000 times. I am so empowered by my own self. Every
Yes,
single
yes, yes.
time that I go to a new country alone and I navigate and I enjoy and I explore, I'm like, well, damn. Like, ain't
You
nothing I
should.
can't do. That's the way
I
I
know that's
feel. Like, I
right.
throw it at me. I can handle that. What? Ain't nothing I can't do. Yeah,
You
I've been to
got it.
Morocco and don't know a word of Arabic and had a great time for 45
Wow.
days.
Wow. See, that's what's up. It's like my pastor said in the sermon yesterday. He said, the champ is here. That's you. The champ is here. I'm here. The champ is here. The
I
champ is
appreciate
here.
that.
I mean, that's you feel empowered. He
Yes.
so that's a feeling that is can't nobody take that away. And that's the
Nobody can take
building
it.
inside of you that helps with it being able to navigate this beautiful world that we live in, and to be able to see it and enjoy it. And it's
Yes.
such a blessing to be able to do that, because a lot of people aren't able
A
to for
lot
whatever
of people are
reason.
not able to, whether or not it's for health reasons,
Hmm.
financial reasons, whatever. And so that's why I try to be encouraging and provide inspiration, because regardless of what your budget is, there's a way that you can do it if you
Yes.
really want to do it. You do not have to do it in a group. You don't have to do it with somebody else. You don't have to have a partner or a husband or a wife. You can just go on out there and do it. And so I think the more that I share, the more people, more sisters like you are like, well, dang. Like,
Right.
how old are you again? Yeah, I can do this at 60. I can do this at
Yeah.
70. You know,
Yeah.
and when I run into sisters who I consider pioneers, you know, 20 years my senior, and they like, yeah, I've been out in these streets. I'm like, girl, you was
Yes.
doing
What
it before
a,
Google Translate and everything.
yeah, you really gotta have respect for them, right?
I mean, what? Let me sit at your feet, sis. Are you
Yes,
kidding
I
me?
know. I know,
Yeah,
Queen. They didn't have the technology, they did it anyway. So, and
right,
we
right.
have this new dynamic of so many Black women. I think more than any other time in history that are single and seniors or and doing this.
And
Like
doing it.
I don't remember when I was in my 30s any of my mother's and grandmother's friends doing no traveling nowhere.
Wait a
And
minute.
not in the numbers that I mean, they went to Disneyland or something maybe, but wasn't
Right, and
nobody
that was a
traveling the globe.
stretch.
Yeah, and that was a stretch, you know what I'm saying? Go to Wisconsin Dells or something, Niagara Falls, but traveling all over the world. And the numbers of Black single women that are doing this
Hmm.
is phenomenal right now.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother demographic doing it.
It's a movement. It
It's a
really is a
movement.
movement.
It ain't
And I
just a
don't know
few.
about you, but I got connected to the movement through a couple of people who were instrumental. You know, during COVID, you know, you were on lockdown. So you on YouTube or you
Right.
scrolling. That was the first time I decided to get back on Facebook. And I found this group called Exodus Summit. And I was like, what y'all talking about? You
Yes.
know, and then
Yes.
I found a Black girl who looked like me talking about I've been traveling for a year all over the world and I don't pay rent. And I'm like, what? Like, that's a thing, you know?
Yes.
So when you get outside of that box and you open the realms of possibility, you know, then you win in automatically because your
Yes.
mind has expanded to this was something I never saw for myself on this level. You know, you might take a week vacation, 2 weeks if you were lucky in the
Yeah.
workplace, right? 2 weeks at
Right.
a time. And you came back and you needed vacation from the vacation because you were so busy trying to fit it all in two
Right.
weeks, right?
Right.
But
Right.
people making this a lifestyle, I tell people I'm on vacation, this is my whole life. Every
Yeah.
day. Like if I want to go see something, I go see it. If I don't, I just post up at the house
Right.
and
Beautiful.
enjoy being with me,
That's right.
which is all brand new too, because there was a time where I just didn't even know who the hell I was. So how could I enjoy being with her?
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's the luxury of time and space and you know eliminating the noise and taking
Yeah.
off some of the hats and as my girl Wendy says, not putting on nobody else's shoes when a situation presents itself, you know,
Woo.
like whose shoes you wearing right now, D? Like that ain't even you. Like where'd that
Right.
come from, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
having the luxury of that healing and being able to be introspective is just it's priceless.
It is prices, and I love that about not putting on nobody else's shoes. I love that one. Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh, she would have me in a minute because I get, you know, caught up in something I was doing, and she was like, "Yo, that don't even sound like you." So, like, whose shoes you got on right now? Stop, Paul. Let me think about this thing. You know what I'm saying? They might have been younger diamond shoes, but they don't fit no
Right.
more.
They don't
Them,
fit no
them,
more.
yo, they gave me corns and made my heels hurt. Right? So I don't even want those shoes no more.
I know that's
Mm-mm-mm.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So if you had to say one significant lesson from your expat journey, what would be the number one lesson for you?
The number one lesson for me, I guess, would be to stay true to myself and don't have um, expectations that are not reasonable. To
Okay.
just enjoy the moments, even though they're different.
Yeah.
Don't get bent out of shape about it being different. Just enjoy what it is. Enjoy the blessing. Remember that all we have is the present. That's why
Yeah.
it's called the present because it's a gift,
It's a gift.
and that's it. And just be grateful and thankful for all of the new adventures and connections, and just take it for what it is. Like my daddy used to always say, I meet people where they are, and just
Yep.
accept life as it comes, and just
Yes.
enjoy it and embrace it. Just
Yeah.
enjoy it and embrace it.
Yeah. I mean, that's standing in a posture of gratitude at all times.
Yes,
And
just
I
being
preach that
grateful.
all the time. You know, if you start from a position of gratitude, everything else looks better.
It does. And
You
sometimes we got
know?
to bag up into that gratitude. Like you might have to, I have a gratitude journal
Me too.
and I have to look at it
Yeah.
because when stuff starts getting overwhelming and things start being too different and
Hmm.
feeling that because you can feel isolated sometimes in
Yes.
expat
Yes.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Everything is not cookies and cream that people who are in the States looking at this, because a lot of people are presenting all of this beautiful, good stuff all the time. And the reality is, everybody ain't living like that every minute. Sometimes
Who
it's
does?
just living every day the same way you was doing in the States, but in a different place.
Hmm.
So when things start feeling kind of out of place, it's good to get back into a posture of gratitude because you do have more things to be grateful for,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
even if it is a lot of stuff that's not working.
Hmm.
So, just being grateful for every day,
That's
and
right.
loving the blessed. Because I didn't never see myself living like this. I had not even envisioned this for myself at all. So I'm just happy, like, thank you, Lord. Thank
What?
you.
There are days when I wake up and I'm like, yo, pinch yourself. This is
What
like
happened?
this your real life. Like this is
Yeah,
really your real life, you
I'm
know?
actually awake right now.
I'm awake. I am not dreaming because, I put it in a post in a minute. My favorite hashtag is faith over fear. And I could
Mhm.
not have done any of this unless I put
Right,
my faith, exercised that faith muscle, and
right,
started moving it in front of my fear because there
right.
is fear of the unknown. That's
Yes,
what
it
keeps
is.
people stuck.
It
That's
is.
what keeps people from being unable to pivot like you
Right.
were when you saw something going on. You like, yo, I'm not a tree. I can move. Like
I
I
can
got to
move.
go.
I got to
But that's a
move.
faith move, right?
Yes, it was a
Listen to
faith
your
move.
intuition. You move in faith, right?
Yeah, because not only your fears, like you said, faith over fear, but other people's fears that they try to project onto you. If we stay stuck in what other people are scared about, then we don't walk in the fullness of our blessings because
No,
it was people who were scared for me to move to Ecuador. It
of
was people who
course.
didn't want me to move out of Ecuador because of their fears and their
Yes.
concerns that didn't have nothing to do with me. Them your shoes, like you
Those are
just said, I'm
your
going to be using that,
shoes.
girl.
Yes, yes,
You should
yes.
have
They
told
got
me
my
that.
size. I don't want them.
Thank you, Wendy Kiles.
Girl, when I
I
tell
love
you,
it.
she dropped so many gems. We spent 5.5 months together the
I
first of
know.
this year. And, it was like, okay, can we really do this? And I will tell you that I have come out so much better from that
Wow.
journey than I entered. I learned so many things from that woman. And
Yes.
it was a real blessing. And
Awesome.
another big part of journaling is that you can look back when times get really difficult and you facing that new challenge. You can look back and you'd be
Yes,
like,
you
wait a
can.
minute, wait a minute. I did that back there.
Right.
Like that was me back then, and I came out way better, right? So I
Yes.
remember who you are, right?
Yes.
Remember
Yes.
whose you are
That's right.
and do the damn thing, right? Like Nike say, do the damn thing.
That's
Shoot.
right. That's
Mm.
right.
Well, let
That's
me say in closing, I always am looking for my wine sponsor. So let me bring my glass. This is not wine because I'm in Barbados. So
Mhm.
this is Barbadian rum and coconut water. However, wine sponsor,
All
I'm
right.
looking for you. Are you looking for me?
Wise sponsor. All
Salud.
right. Salute.
Absolutely, absolutely. Girl, this has been so much fun, as I knew it
Yes.
would. It's just like
Yes.
sister girls just catching up, and I love it.
I love it too. Thank you so much for having me. It was good to see you, and I'm so happy for you and your travels.
Thank you.
And so just keep living your best life, girl. You're an inspiration.
I appreciate it. And as you are, as they say
Thank
here,
you.
likewise.
Thank
Likewise. So
you.
you're going to send me the links so I can drop them in the description where we can find your music.
Okay.
And then however you post on social media, so that those who are in Panama City or coming to Panama City, when you start getting out there and doing those performances, which I know you will be, and I'm gonna be in the audience at one of them, because it ain't nothing. It's just a thing for me to hop on the plane and get to
Yes.
Panama.
I know. I know, girl.
And I'll be out there bigging you up, honey. I love it.
I appreciate
Yes.
it.
Well, wherever you are and whatever you're doing in the world, I wish you nothing but peace and blessings.
Thank you. The same to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right.